What's going on, guys, and welcome to Highly and Alph Gaming. I'm your host, Alph, and this video is probably being released within a couple days of Nintendo's E3 presentation. I kinda forgot to make a pre-E3 video until very recently this year, but oh well, here we are now. Today I'll be going over what I expect Nintendo to announce at their E3 presentation, and also what I want them to announce. What I'll do here is go through all the franchises I care about, first saying what I want them to announce for that franchise, then what I expect. I'm a bit of a pessimist though, so let's get started and see what I think Nintendo's E3 presentation will bring. Let's start by getting a big one out of the way, Mario. As far as what I want for Mario, I'm hoping for one big thing, and for once, I can honestly say that pretty much all of you viewers out there feel the same way. I want a sequel to Super Mario Odyssey. We're obviously getting another Mario game someday, but that could take forever, especially if they completely redo the game's art style and mechanics. As much as I love fresh, new, completely different games, I don't think anyone would be complaining if Nintendo saved a bit of time by reusing the Odyssey engine they spent years making. I mean, it would just be perfect. Everyone loves Super Mario Odyssey, and an Odyssey sequel would not only give Nintendo a fast, cheap way to make tons more money, but it would also give us a game that we love again. Odyssey has replay value, sure, but in my opinion, the first time you play a game is almost always the best time. Games are partially about discovering how their mechanics work and what kind of secrets and landmarks are in their worlds. So having a second Super Mario Odyssey would be like playing Odyssey for the first time again. I don't want to go into any more detail about why I want an Odyssey 2, because I know just about everyone wants it anyway, so I'll stop myself here. Odyssey 2 is my biggest Mario-related E3 wish, but that's not exactly what I think will happen. What I'm actually expecting is, drumroll please, some new information about Mario Maker 2. That's literally the only thing I expect to be related to Mario at E3. I may just be overly disappointed from 2018, but I'm honestly not expecting them to announce any new Mario games. I hope I'm wrong, but we're already expecting like 7 games from them within the next year, and even if I'm personally excited about none of them other than Mario Maker 2, they still probably don't see the rush to make a new Mario. I won't be super surprised if we get an announcement for an Odyssey sequel within the next year, but I'm definitely not counting on it. I think Nintendo will talk a little bit about Mario Maker 2 this E3, and that's all we'll get. You never know though. Before we get to the next franchise I'm familiar with, I'd like to quickly run through the franchises I know something about, but don't care about enough to give them each their own sections. First up, Metroid. Since they already told us they completely restarted development for Prime 4 from scratch a few months ago, I can't realistically see them talking about the game at E3. I doubt they'll even mention it, since there's probably not any game to talk about at this point. What I think is more likely for them to announce is a port of the Metroid Prime trilogy in HD. I'm sure Nintendo knows some people are disappointed about Prime 4 effectively being pushed back to 3 or 4 years from now, so they might want to supplement that with a Prime Trilogy HD. I wouldn't be surprised if they announced the trilogy, or if they didn't announce the trilogy though. I'd give it like a 50-50 shot. The second and final franchise I don't care about, Pokemon. I think it's almost guaranteed that Pokemon will be mentioned at the Direct, but since we just got that Pokemon Direct a couple days ago, I can't see them dropping tons more info on it. Not really anything else to say about Pokemon, so back to things I care about. Here's the big one, guys, at least for me. What's going on with Pikmin at E3? For starters, I don't think any of you will be surprised with what I want. I want them to announce a 2019 release date for Pikmin 4, and I'd also like an HD collection of the first 3 Pikmin games to go with it. Those are lofty goals though, and obvious answers at that, so what am I really expecting? Here comes the pessimism again, absolutely nothing. I know, I should probably have a slightly more positive attitude about this, but I'm honestly kinda done waiting for Pikmin 4. I think I picked the wrong franchise to be a huge fan of, because this is the second time in a row that Nintendo has taken a stupidly long time to release or even publicly mention a Pikmin game. It took them 9 stinking years to release Pikmin 3, and if we have to wait that long for Pikmin 4, I might just explode. I'm not expecting Nintendo to mention Pikmin at E3, so that way I won't be too disappointed if they don't say anything. Every time a Direct passes without a Pikmin 4 announcement, my sadness gets a little bigger, but life goes on. We're probably not getting Pikmin at E3, and I guess I just have to live with that. Lastly, I'm gonna finish off this video by talking about Zelda, because there are 3 main things I'd like to mention. First though, what do I want them to announce? I'd like some more info on Link's Awakening, of course, and if you know me, you also know I love Wind Waker, so I'm really hoping for a port of Wind Waker HD to the Switch. My biggest wish, though, is that we'll get a true sequel to Breath of the Wild. See the card in the corner for my top 5 most wanted Switch games if you want more detail on why I want a Breath of the Wild sequel so bad, but just know that I really want one. So those are my 3 wishes. Come on, Zelda Genie, make it happen! My Zelda predictions are probably the most optimistic of the bunch, and the most likely one of my wishes to come true is Link's Awakening info. I've never played Link's Awakening, but since it's the only Zelda game we currently have announced, I think it's almost guaranteed that they'll at least mention it. I don't know exactly what they'd have to say about it if it's just a port of an old game, but I'm sure they'll come up with something. More interesting though is the idea of a Wind Waker and or Twilight Princess HD port, but I'm just gonna say Wind Waker most of the time because that's the only one I actually care about. I haven't heard any rumors for these ports beyond like 2 whispers, but I think it's pretty darn likely we'll get them. The HD Zelda remasters are pretty much the last 2 relevant Wii U games that haven't seen a Switch port, and they would also take basically no effort to bring over. The only Wii U specific features they had were item management and Miiverse, and there was even an off-TV mode that didn't use the gamepad for item management. So yeah, porting the Wii U Zelda remakes would basically be a no-brainer, which is why I think there's a good chance we'll get an announcement for them at E3. My biggest Zelda wish, the one of a new game, is what I think will most likely be a no-show. As much financial and customer satisfaction-y sense it would make to develop a sequel to Breath of the Wild using their existing engine, I don't think it's gonna happen, and my main reason for thinking this is that Nintendo doesn't really seem to like doing this with their games. The most recent example I can think of was almost 10 years ago with Super Mario Galaxy, and the most recent Zelda example was 20 years ago with Majora's Mask. Unless you count Spirit Tracks, but I don't count that, shut up. It's not like Galaxy 2 or Majora weren't successful games or anything, they totally were, but for whatever reason, Nintendo hasn't seen a need to do that with almost any of their games. I don't know if they're scared people will think they're being lazy, or if Nintendo wants to keep originality and creativity as their top priority, or what, but they just haven't made a lot of easy sequels in the style of what I want Breath of the Wild 2 to be. Maybe I'm wrong, I really hope I am, but I'm expecting no Zelda sequel being made, and especially not for them to announce it at E3 in the midst of all the other games we're getting. And there you go, those are my E3 wishes and expectations. Thank you all for watching, I hope you enjoyed yada yada yada, all that good stuff. Sorry this video was a little on the short side, but remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and have a great day!